There are a lot of dangers in aviation that don't take place either inside the airplane or from air traffic control, but they in fact take place from a third party outside somewhere on the ground. Let me explain what I mean. Let's watch.
Flight 1611, heavy Cincinnati Tower, wind 05012, runway 36 center, clear to land.
Clear to land, 36 center, runway 1611.
Okay, in this scenario, there was an unauthorized transmission that took place from a man with a handheld VHF radio. Now, airplanes all operate on a frequency range, and that's the VHF frequency range. The VHF frequency range goes from 30 megahertz all the way up to 300 megahertz, but the air band that is been set aside for commercial aviation basically goes from 108 to 136, I believe it is, and there's little frequencies in between, and we can dial any one of those in, but they're all set aside for airplanes to talk to air traffic control. Anybody can go buy a handheld VHF radio. And in fact, in my personal airplane, I have a handheld VHF radio in case the one in the airplane goes bad. Some guy got a hold of a VHF radio, and here's what happens.
9617, Pittsburgh.
Okay, what happened? Real quickly, he said it real fast, 2 words, go around. It was some guy with a handheld radio. Who knows where he was? He might have been somewhere near the airport. Perhaps it was a kid thinking they were being funny. There are 2 basic things that happen these days that are easy to get a hold of and are extremely dangerous to aviation. One of them is getting a hold of a VHF radio. Now, they're kind of pricey, so it's not the sort of thing that a kid's going to go out and get. Maybe his dad's got one, he grabs one, who knows? It could have been some old guy that was just thought he was being funny. The other one is those little handheld green lasers, and those things can be bought for under $100 a piece. And there's been hundreds and hundreds of incidents recently where somebody has pointed a green laser at an airplane that, if it hits the cockpit just right, it can actually blind the pilots. This is as serious as it gets. And if the authorities find you, you will spend some time in jail for that offense. And same thing with an unauthorized transmission, especially something like go around. Watch what happens next.
Who was announcing that? Who said that? Flying 1611, heavy tower.
Hey, go ahead.
To be clear, I am not sending you around, but did you hear the transmission go around?
I heard something. I heard you say who's that, but I didn't hear what they said.
Okay.
Connie 617, we clearly heard somebody say go around.
Okay, Connie 617 distinctly heard it, so they back up the air traffic controller who heard somebody say go around. And now he's got to clarify for everybody on the frequency and everybody that's coming in, he didn't say go around. If he says go around, he's going to call out the call sign of the airplane. Let's say it was Connie 617. He's going to say, Connie 617, go around, and then he's going to give him instructions on what to do. Climb runway heading to 3,000 feet, dial frequency 123.7, and he's going to hand him off to the next guy. There's a certain way it's structured. Just the words go around, that's not something ATC is going to say. Now, if there's a pilot saying to another pilot, go around in the cockpit, and he happens to hit the wrong button and he transmits that to the outside, that go around might have gotten transmitted by an airplane. That's not what happened here today. There's some guy out there with a handheld radio that's trying to be funny, I suppose.
All right, Connie 617, heavy, thank you. Yeah, threw me for a loop. I didn't know. I think it may be malicious at this point.
We were thinking the same.
Connie 617, heavy, thank you. For Canada right there, turn right on Delta, remain at frequency.
Right on Delta, remain at frequency, Connie 617, heavy.
Can you imagine the mayhem that this would cause? If this guy had continued trying to get airplanes to go around, the confusion that would cause, it would actually shut down the whole airport. And what we find out here in a minute is the airport does get shut down.
Cincinnati Tower, Shuttle 6139, ILS 36 center.
Shuttle 6139, Cincinnati Tower, wind 06011, runway 36 center, clear to land number 2, following a heavy Boeing, Airbus 330 on a mile, final crosswind turbulence.
36 center, clear to land, Shuttle 6139.
Okay.
Shuttle 6139, additionally, use caution, possible malicious transmissions. Again, this is not an instruction, but the words go around were broadcast on this frequency within a minute ago.
Okay, this guy is very careful in the way he words it. He's got to tell everybody that there was a malicious transmission of go around, but he understands that if he says the words go around, there may be some confusion, and the airplanes might then go around. So he's got to explain to him, this is not an instruction. I'm just explaining what happened. So you see how this bogs everything down? That one little thing that this guy did is causing all sorts of delays now going into Cincinnati.
American 430, Zimmer.
American 430, Cincinnati Tower, 10612, runway 36 center, cleared to land.
Clear to land, 36 center, American 430.
American 430, use caution, possible malicious transmission. Again, not an instruction, but the words go around for broadcast unauthorized on the frequency.
American 430, thanks.
Was a malicious, someone keying up the frequency for local control, telling aircraft to go around on runway 36 center. If you want to go down by the approach end of 36 center and take a look around, see anyone on the radio, or if you can see anyone that's over the junior on the radio to be looking to watch the aircraft.
Okay, so they've already pinpointed where the transmission came from. So any of you out there that are thinking, hey, this would be kind of funny, I think I'll go out there and get that VHF radio and tell airplanes to turn left and turn right or to go around. That quickly, within basically about 2 minutes, they've already isolated where the frequency came from, and they're already sending the authorities over there. So if this guy's still hanging around, he's going to spend a night in the box.
On them to go around on local frequency.
Attention all aircraft, false ATC instructions have been received in the area of the Cincinnati Airport, broadcast on the local frequency. Exercise extreme caution for all frequencies and verify instructions. American 672, Cincinnati Tower, 1060 at 11, runway 36 right, cleared to land. Understand you're going to stop on the runway. American 672, be advised, possible malicious transmissions on this frequency. This is not an instruction, but the words that go around for broadcast unauthorized on a local frequency within the last 15 minutes.
Now, the resolution of this comes out this way. They actually did find a guy. He was an older gentleman. It wasn't a kid. You'd expect that behavior out of a teenager. He was an older guy, and he was kind of like a airplane watcher. And he was down at the end of runway 36 center. Now, you can buy a VHF frequency and just listen in on the frequencies, and lots of people do that. And there's nothing illegal about doing that at all. There's lots of people that love to, as a hobby, right, follow what's going on with aviation. They'll sit at the end of the runway and they'll film every airplane that's landing. Where this thing goes wrong is where he just gets a wild hair and decides, I'm just going to key up the mic and say, go around and see what happens to the airplane that's coming in. All right, what's going to happen to him is he's probably going to spend 30 to 60 days in a jail cooling his jets, no pun intended, someplace, and it's probably going to cost him a pretty hefty fine. That was a mistake that could have been avoided, an unforced error on his part. My friends, don't mess with this stuff because it's serious, serious business, especially when lives are at stake in transportation. Well, now you know. I'm Captain Steeve. Fly safe.